Microsoft's Surface Laptop Studio is the spiritual successor to this, the Surface Book 3. The question is it worth the upgrade? A few months ago, we expected that Microsoft might introduce the Surface Book 4 this holiday season. Obviously, it didn't. However, the Surface Laptop Studio is as good as a Surface Book 4. In fact, it's as good of a Surface as we've seen in about half a decade. What we're going to talk about today are three defining characteristics of both the Surface Laptop Studio and the Surface Book 3. The physical hardware, how well they ink, and of course, closing with performance. You're probably familiar with the Surface Book 3 that debuted last year. It features a Core i7-1065G7, 32 gigabytes of memory, 512 gigabytes of storage, and an NVIDIA GeForce GTX 1660 Ti. Opposing it is the new Surface Laptop Studio. Inside of it is a Core i7-11370H, that's the new H35 processor Intel debuted in January, 32 gigs of memory, a terabyte of storage, and an RTX 3050 Ti GPU. The Surface Book 3 was iconic in the way that it straddled a traditional clamshell notebook and a detachable tablet. All you had to do with the Surface Book 3 was go ahead, push the detach button on the keyboard, and pull away the tablet. When you did so, you had something that was crossed between a personal workstation as well as a Surface Pro tablet. Now, the hardware of the Surface Book 3 allows you to do a couple of things. One, it allows you to swap the tablet backwards into presentation mode, but it also allows you to go ahead and use it strictly as a detached tablet as well. Now, the other thing the Surface Book 3 offered was what we might call legacy hardware. A pair of USB Type-A slots, a USB-C slot, a Surface charger, and a full-sized SD card slot as well. The Surface Laptop Studio, on the other hand, features a new, somewhat radical pull-forward design. But wait, we've actually seen this before. The Acer Concept D3 easel debuted about a year ago, and also features that same sort of pull-forward design that we're seeing on the Surface Laptop Studio. Now, we're not going to do a direct comparison between the two because we expect or hope that the Acer will refresh this particular device in about a week's or within a month's time, but perhaps then we'll be able to take a closer look at it. Now, the difference between the Concept D3 easel and the Surface Laptop Studio is both in the hinge as well as the elegance of the design. The Concept D3 easel supports the tablet sort of through its entire range of motion. The Surface Laptop Studio, on the other hand, really only has 2 points in which it supports the tablet sufficiently, both in its traditional clamshell mode as well as in its pull-forward mode, which is about 45 degrees off the vertical. So the Surface Laptop Studio has several key differences. The first being the inclusion of Thunderbolt ports, which are sort of a super-powered USB-C, allowing you to connect external storage and monitors. Second, there is the inclusion of this really nifty haptic touchpad. A haptic touchpad is something that you might find on a smartphone, for example, but it's a little bit different in that you're not physically clicking anything. In fact, in a way, it's clicking you. The Surface Laptop screen is also a little bit diminished in terms of resolution, but it's also a little bit increased in terms of display refresh rate. This refresh rate goes up to 120 Hz versus the 60 Hz on the Surface Book 3. That's essentially superior in terms of inking, but it also allows you a little bit smoother animations for games. One more point on the dimensions. The Surface Laptop Studio only ships in a 14.4-inch display form factor. The Surface Book 3 was available in both a 15-inch as well as a 13.5-inch display size as well. The Surface Laptop Studio is a bit lighter than that 15-inch form factor, but a bit heavier than the 13.5-inch as well. So let's talk about inking. Both the Surface Book 3 and the Surface Laptop Studio are content creation devices, and content creation devices typically require a pen. Now, for the purposes of this demonstration, we're going to use the Surface Slim Pen 2 that ships with the Surface Laptop Studio, but also works on other Surface devices as well. Now, the important thing to realize when you're inking is three things. First, you want the e-ink latency to be as small as possible. That's the delay and after which the ink flows out of the pen. You also want to make sure that the ink is not offset. In other words, where you touch the pen is where the ink flows from. And finally, you want to make sure that the ink judder or jitter is reduced as much as possible. That's the sort of wavy line effect that you get when drawing with a straight edge. With the Surface Book 3, we don't see a whole lot of ink latency. It was pretty good for that regard. However, when we draw a straight line, especially a slow diagonal straight line, we do see a little bit of a wavy effect, which was evidence of ink judder or jitter. Now, in the Surface Laptop Studio, a couple of things. First of all, we have the Surface Slim Pen 2 nestled in its little charging cradle that's underneath the front of the laptop. Not only pairs automatically, but also automatically charges, which is a nice little feature. You don't have to search out a triple or a quadruple A battery that you did with previous Surface Pens. Again, when we ink upon the Surface Laptop Studio, we're not quite seeing as much ink latency, I think, as we saw on the Surface Book 3. We are still seeing a little bit of ink judder or jitter, though, when we ink that slow diagonal line. In summary, though, I think that the Surface Laptop Studio provides a superior experience. So the question is, how well does each of these perform? And to answer that, we turn to our traditional benchmarks. The first benchmark we looked at was PCMark 10, a general-purpose benchmark which measures everything from web browsing to light game playing, application startup, and even CAD work. In this, the Surface Laptop Studio showed a definitive victory, a 45% increase in performance over the Surface Book 3. In Cinebench R15, a synthetic CPU benchmark, the difference was a little bit closer. Here, the Surface Laptop Studio showed a score of 745, which is a 7.5% increase over the Surface Book 3. In graphics, it was a different story. Here we used the 3D Mark Time Spy benchmark, and the Surface Book 3 scored 4,615, a 2.5% increase over the Surface Laptop Studio. That just shows that the RTX hardware in the Surface Laptop Studio doesn't quite keep up with the older GTX hardware in the Surface Book 3. As far as battery life is concerned, the Surface Book 3 was traditionally the champion of the Surface lineup. The Surface Book 3 demonstrated 11.96 hours of battery life, almost 12. The Surface Laptop Studio, however, was almost 13.5 hours of battery life, proving that if you want an all-day machine, the Surface Laptop Studio is your device. In price, the two contestants were more closely matched. The price of our Surface Laptop Studio review unit was $2,700, and at the time we received it, the Surface Book 3 was priced at $2,800. So the question we come back to is whether you should upgrade from the Surface Book 3 to the more modern Surface Laptop Studio. And somewhat surprisingly, my answer is yes. The Surface Laptop Studio offers quite a bit in terms of its dramatic redesign. It offers performance that's moderately to significantly better than the Surface Book 3, and at a price that's roughly comparable. So if you had to make a choice between the Surface Book 3 and the Surface Laptop Studio, I would definitely go with Microsoft's most modern Surface yet. For the full review of the Surface Laptop Studio, please visit PCWorld.com. And for more tips, tricks, reviews, and unboxings, keep it tuned here to PCWorld's YouTube channel. Thanks for watching.